The ministry in Africa continues through our MCNet teams who continue the important work of training leaders. This past year, Dale was in West Africa to do just that. He was in his birth country, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and through his various partnerships was able to provide solar, audio Bibles, portable water devices, and other humanitarian aid. As you may recall, Nancy and I began our missionary work in East Africa in the early 1990s, primarily Kenya and Uganda at that time. And together with our ICM USA partners, we met the first Kenya team members, James and Mary Kamau. Since then, they have pioneered the work in Tanzania by establishing the Pastoral Leadership Training Centers in Dar es Salaam. James has also been involved in reaching out to the Maasai people, and a new church has been planted among them. Over the last few years, Rafik and I have also visited Dar es Salaam to do some training. Rafik is originally from Tanzania, having pastored a church there and doing evangelistic meetings throughout the country. He currently, though, lives in Canada and is one of our board members. ICM USA continues to train pastors and church leaders throughout Africa, so check out their website, icmusa.org, to see what God is doing on the continent through our various ICM partners. Since first moving to Berlin in 2000, the work continues in a part of the world that is a real passion of ours. With the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, this is a challenging time to do ministry there for sure. Our ministry in this region of Eurasia now includes West and East Europe, Ukraine, Russia, and a few countries in Central Asia. Team members with us, Alexei and Tatiana, continue to serve within the church and seminary in Moscow. They also teach throughout Russia, and in the last year were invited to parts of Africa, Germany, and Korea. In St. Petersburg, Larry and Irina continue to serve in the church they planted over the last couple years. And we first began serving with them when they lived in the Caucasus region, which is in the far south of Russia, and that was some 15 years ago. But after teaching them these principles all those years ago, it's exciting to see them continue to mentor the next generation of leaders wherever God leads them. Our Ukrainian ministry coaches, Maxime and Anya, continue to serve in the difficult eastern region of the country. In addition to their ministry to displaced and needy families, they've also planted a church. And now their renewal or retreat center has been a real blessing to those that need to get away from the stresses of the war to recover and recuperate for a little bit. When I was there in 2023, it was such a blessing to be hosted in this little oasis in the midst of the turmoil. This year, one of ICM Canada's board members also was able to visit them and their daughter and husband there in Ukraine. A newer addition to our ministry coaching network is Willie and his wife, Catherine. He is part of a missions group based out of Germany where they live. I first met Willie at a leadership conference I was doing in Ukraine back in 2017. He is fluent in Russian and has continued to teach our discipleship and mentoring materials throughout Ukraine, as well as countries like Uzbekistan and Central Asia. In the last year, he was able to again connect with Maxime in Ukraine, and he's also helping to train Jacob's new leadership, with whom we have worked for many years. They have purchased a new building there, and of course it was at a reduced price due to the proximity of the war. However, many of Jacob's young leaders were either drafted or moved out of the area, so now he is having to start over and train leaders and rebuild the ministry. Not exactly an easy task at his age. So please continue to pray that God will strengthen the church throughout Ukraine, as well as Willie's new training in Central Asia. My good buddy Carl continues to pastor a church in what was once Eastern Europe. You may recall he is one of the first leaders to go through our mentoring program, which we developed in Berlin in the early 2000s. He also provides leadership for the church planting arm of his denomination. And in the last year, traveled to Georgia, the country, not the state, to train young leaders. Carlos lives in the Dominican Republic, and we were able to host him here in Canada this last year. He is our key ministry coach and oversees the ministry in Latin America and the Caribbean region. Through his various contacts, he was raising partners for various projects in Latin America. While he was here, he was able to meet with the ICM board and other friends of the ministry in the Vancouver and Calgary area. Together with Ray Dell and their team, the ministry in Dominican Republic continues to train and equip thousands of leaders every year. DR is really a strategic hub for us as a ministry, for it is a real stable country and has good transportation links to all of Latin America and the Caribbean. In the last year, both he and Raydell were able to follow up invites for training in surrounding countries such as Guatemala and Puerto Rico. In addition to regularly bringing leaders from Cuba to DR for training and encouragement, which they do every year. When I went to Cuba some 15 years ago, I couldn't imagine life getting any harder for the Cuban people, but in reality it actually has. So please continue to pray for the Church of Cuba and the people of Cuba. Don't let the beaches fool you. They're living under very difficult conditions. Next year, we are hoping to gather members of the network together who are participating in our new Christian Leadership Institute, or CLI. Rather than merely an academic approach to pastoral leadership training, it focuses on helping candidates gain experience in ministry during their mentorship. It has been translated into Spanish, and work is now continuing on the Russian version. It is really the culmination of a lifetime of leadership training materials for me, and currently has been rolled out in Latin America and Russia, and we hope to also use it in Central Asia, where the Russian language is still commonly used. Last but by no means least, I have begun my new Leadership Matters podcast that is on our YouTube channel, as well as hosted on our website, icmcanada.org. These series will be based upon all the training I've done over the years to leaders, and the first one in this series will be Mentoring Intelligence, which is now complete and available. This will likely take several years to complete all of them, and future series will include topics such as finishing the race, multicultural teams, the fivefold ministry, and the first team, and so on. Though originally developed for leaders, it has a broader appeal, and so if you'd like to have a look or share them with someone you know, I'm sure you'll find them interesting and helpful.